How do you handle ethical dilemmas in the Catholic business? This is the Catholic CEO, Henry Katarna. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for supporting us. Check out our website, thecatholicceo.com. Today, I want to talk about the ethical dilemmas in a little bit more detail. We've covered these in some general ways in the last couple of videos. But today I want to do something that's more precise, and I want to give some specific examples. And I want to propose to you ways that you can be not only a Catholic running a business, but a Catholic running a Catholic business. You know that we believe you can be Catholic and successful in business at the Catholic CEO. I'd like to begin with our prayer to St. Joseph. St. Joseph is the patron saint of the Catholic CEO. And so I'd like to begin with a prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen. Glorious St. Joseph, model of all those who are devoted to labor, obtain for me the grace to work conscientiously, putting the call of duty above my many sins, to work with thankfulness and joy, considering it an honor to employ and develop by means of labor the gifts received from God, to work with order, peace, prudence, and patience, never surrendering to weariness or difficulties, to work above all with purity of intention and with detachment from self, having always death before my eyes, and the account which I must render of time lost, of talents wasted, of good omitted, of vain complacency and success, so fatal to the work of God, all for Jesus, all for Mary, all after thy example, O Patriarch Joseph. Such shall be my motto in life and death. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen. The Catholic CEO is a family business. We are based in Texas, and I want to give a shout out to some members of our team at the very beginning today. Jim is our VP of Marketing, and he's been very instrumental in helping us establish the Catholic CEO, particularly in our marketing and social media. And his wife is my daughter, Alexis, and she's very savvy in broadcasting, and she's helped us immeasurably in creating our graphics, our audio and our video approaches, the music, and all sorts of technical help. I'd also like to give a shout out to my son, Matthew, and his wife, Agnes. Eventually, they will be involved in back office work, and they're all supporters of the Catholic CEO. So to my family and to the family that runs the Catholic CEO, my grateful thanks and appreciation. I also want to talk about a couple of early supporters, particularly my friend Tony and his wife, Virginia. Tony was an early interview in the podcast series, and he's always been a supporter right from the very beginning. He thinks this is a great idea, and so Tony, to you and to Virginia, thanks again for your great support. So let's get into the topic today, ethical dilemmas, in a little bit more specific way. Let's begin by first speaking as lay people. We are not theologians. We're not in the hierarchy of the church. We're not priests. We're not the Pope. We're not cardinals. But we are lay people who are informed about the faith, and we should be able to talk about ethical dilemmas in business from the knowledge viewpoint of a layperson. So let's do this. Let's just go through a piece of logic here. First of all, what is an ethical dilemma? Well, in my opinion, see what you think, an ethical dilemma is a temptation to deviate from charity, to deviate from truth, to deviate from justice. It's an apparent choice between an action that is good and true, just, right, charitable, versus something that is the opposite of that. Now, I suppose that sounds perfectly reasonable. I hope it does. But here's the point. If we make the wrong choice, we objectively sin to some degree or other, whether venial or mortal. And your conscience, a well-formed conscience, is going to help you judge that. So in Catholic business, if we're Catholic business owners trying to run Catholic businesses, or if we're principled people trying to run principled businesses, and we want to get to heaven, we must do the right thing. And so one of my suggestions is that every action we take in business be measured and clarified against the simple question: does this help me to get to heaven or not? If it does, great. Let's do it using our best prudential judgment. If it does not, why are we doing it? Now, I know that life is complex. There are many competing pressures. It's not easy. Temptation prevails. The enemy is always at work. But the test question for us as Catholic business people: does this action I'm about to take help to get me and others to heaven or not? So when we talk about ethical dilemmas, I'm talking about the day-to-day business activities that we do in our businesses. And every time we do something in business, whether it's in conformity to the current, secular business world out there, or it's different from that, it's Catholic, it's evidently something different than the rest of the culture proposes to us, we have a problem, because sometimes the path to profitability in our business, or the path to wealth creation, or the speed with which we achieve profitability and wealth creation, is affected by how we deal with these day-to-day issues. So today I'm going to cover a few simple examples. I want to talk about three main topics. One is customer relationships. Number two would be sales and marketing, let's say. And then number three, our own people, our staff, our contractors, our shareholders, our family, and the families of the above mentioned. Take a look at the customer. What are some common ethical dilemmas that face businesses? If you're a business that produces products for shipment or pickup, it's very common. It's very common to see people shorting the customer. You open a box and it says there's 500 pieces, let's say, or 100 pieces, and it's not there. It's 93, or it's 97, or it's 98. I see this a lot. I'm not a cynic about it. I understand that most businesses, and many, are very honorable and honest. But what if there's been a tendency to short customers so that over the long haul, you gain a 3 or 5% gain in inventory, let's say, and therefore profitability, and all that margin then comes to you. You've charged the customer for it, but you have not either produced the item or you haven't shipped it, and it's therefore still in inventory. This is a problem in business, and obviously, I presume you're with me on this, obviously the Catholic business is not going to do this. It's going to be fastidious. It's going to be careful to make sure that there is no shorting of the customer. There's no cheating of the customer in this type of thing. Whether we sell services or products like this, or services by time, let's say we have a service that requires counting hours or days. Once again, shorting the customer by cheating on the time spent. Let's say we're a consultant. Let's say we're a lawyer. Let's say we're an accountant. It's very easy to pad the timesheet, isn't it? Is that a form of shorting the customer? Of course it is. Is it objectively sinful? Probably. I leave it to your conscience, because maybe in a minor way, a slip up, inadvertent behavior, that sort of thing, it happens. But probably if you make it a practice to randomly cut hours or add hours to the invoice, that's a problem. Sending out a known defect. Let's say we have a product or a service and we know it's not up to par. If it's an item that's handcrafted or machine made and we're getting it out, or it's a kitchen item, like a sauce or a food item, and there's really something in there that's extra preservative that the healthy person may not want to see, but we make a claim other than that, we're lying. If we send out a product that has a known defect, let's say an obsolescence feature that we say, this is a lifetime product, this product will last 10 years, 20 years, whatever, but we know secretly that it's designed to fail sooner than that. And you can just think of any examples. Any manufacturing process has a known limitation. It does. We all know that. And so it's not that we need to identify all of the hidden weaknesses of our product. That's not exactly what I'm talking about. But neither do we make outlandish claims about our product. We need to strike a balance there. Virtue is in the mean. And so we don't need to portray all the technical details of our product to the very last dimension, but we should be able to speak clearly about how good our product is and make a reasonable claim. It's all about the balance. Another thought that comes to mind, warranty rigidity, let's call it. Many products are sold with claims about, return if not fully satisfied, get your money back, bring it back to us. And many companies, Catholic and otherwise, will obviously respect their warranty claim. And they've learned over the years that you might as well just be flexible with your customer, because the lifetime value of a customer depends on this. If you work hard-nosed against a customer who brings something back, you may never get that customer again. But if you're reasonable on a return and have a reasonable return policy, that customer will be loyal to you and they'll come back. And so the lifetime value of the customer could be worth tens and dozens of times more than the simple return feature. And so many companies have learned this lesson. From a pragmatic point of view, what I'd like to propose to the Catholic business is let's learn it from a principled point of view. The Catholic view is that we're honest. If the customer doesn't like it for a legitimate reason, we should take it back. If the customer is cheating us, that's tricky. How do you discern that? How do you ascertain that? And sometimes to avoid confrontation or the possibility of making a mistake, we simply just swallow and accept it. There's a humility feature here as well. So the Catholic nuance on this is interesting, but you know what I'm talking about. Warranty rigidity is not the way to do it. We should be flexible. We should be honorable. We should be reasonable. But at the same time, we should be clear as to what our warranty features. We should be 100% clear under what circumstances we will return a product, accept it in return, or ship a substitute, or allow a credit within a certain time period. There's lots of good, highly principled ways to do this, but let's think about this. Let's be a little bit more precise about this. Here's another one on customers, the first of the three topics today. Accepting prepayment. I know companies that knowingly accepted prepayment, knowing that they were going to shut down, or they were going to cut production, or they were going to terminate a product or end a certain product line. I've seen that. You probably have too. And that's, of course, unethical. It's probably even illegal in some jurisdictions because it could be a form of consumer fraud or business fraud. So accepting prepayments is not a problem usually if we have a promise that we're going to eventually, produce the product, get it out there. Maybe we've got to retool, maybe we're shutting down for maintenance or something like that. So in the normal course of business, accepting prepayment with a reasonable expectation that we're going to produce the product or the service is probably okay. But the moral and ethical dilemma is, what is our motivation? Are we motivated from simple expediency, some practical realities, or are we actually intending to defraud the customer by taking that money and using it knowing that we're going to cease production or shut the company down or something like that. It goes on too much out there, and it's something that we need to avoid as good Catholic business owners running good Catholic businesses. So I tried to drill down a little bit in customers. And our videos are short, so I'm not going to continue to drill down on that one. Let's move to sales and marketing as the second category. Sales and marketing, well, we're very familiar with how manipulative it can be, how unethical it can be, how exaggerating it can be, how much lying actually goes on. So what's the Catholic to do in this highly competitive market where advertising dollars, branding, sales, and marketing all compete for very crowded market spaces for short and small margins, it seems? What do? Well, we need to avoid manipulative techniques. If we're putting together a set of conditions in a marketing piece that says that we're going to deliver a certain kind of product and we don't, or if we use unethical or immoral imagery, you know what I'm talking about. If we use sexual imagery, for example, to show a particular lifestyle and therefore associate that lifestyle with our product or our service, that's a problem. That's a serious moral dilemma. And of course, it could be sinful in many ways, not only for ourselves, but to cause scandal, to lead others to sin. So, that's an obvious one. I know you know what I'm talking about. If we use the improper imagery to create an image of a certain lifestyle that's objectively immoral or sinful, and we associate that with our product or our service, and if we follow the conventional marketing system out there in doing so, we've just created a problem. We're not behaving as a Catholic business would behave, I would propose. That's what I think. The other problem simply with immoral imagery is that it attracts the eye, and concupiscence of the eye. So we need to be careful about that. Exaggeration. Outright lying, I suppose you could say nobody really wants to do that because nobody can get away with that. Well, maybe they can. People do actually in marketing and sales and in branding. But if we try to avoid exaggeration, but still portray the positive features of our product, the goodness of our product, the wholesomeness of it. If it's a family-oriented product, for example, there's nothing wrong with showing a happy family image. If it's a product that is for personal consumption or for personal services of some kind, it's possible to show the product in its positive light, showing all of its wonderful features without turning it into an occasion where we have exaggerated or have lied. This is a constant problem in business. Most of my clients have faced this at some point or other. How do they portray in a sales and marketing branding image sense, using social media and all the other tools that are out there? How do they portray that in a way that does not exploit people, does not create negative images, does not create harmful or suggestive images that are difficult to square with Catholic teaching? It's a problem. But there are many production houses out there, and we can all do production ourselves. In the Catholic CEO, we don't have a professional studio. We have some cameras and some lights and some microphones and some software that helps us to record and edit. And we're putting out content. It can be done by the average business person now in-house. And so the control is there for us as Catholic business owners running Catholic companies. The control is already within us for the most part. We don't have to rely on outside people who have their story that they pump out to us. We can actually pump out to the greater community, the wider community out there, the Catholic approach to sales and marketing. And there is one. So let's think about that. I'm going to move now to the third topic. It's really about people in general. How do we treat people? And I want to focus today on staff, contractors, shareholders, employees, many topics we could get into, but let's just do a few. The contracts that we have with our suppliers, with our employees. Contracts are legal instruments, as you know, that set out the responsibilities and duties of parties. And once they agree, that's a contract. That's a legal document that provides the rules of the game, shall we say. How are we supposed to play this game? The interesting thing about it is that contracts can be one-sided, and you know this. If you don't agree on your mobile device to accept a certain download, you're not going to get that download, and you have no choice. You have no power to make that choice. And so we need to, I guess, I propose this to you, in a Catholic setting, we need to make sure that our contracts are fair and balanced. Yes, we need to protect our own interests, our business, our family, our product, our service. Yes, we have every right to protect its integrity and to not allow others to cheat us or to take advantage of us. Absolutely. But as again, virtues in the mean, we need to be virtuous. We need to be making sure that our contracts are protective of the other party's interests as well, in a fair way. Take a look at pay and benefits. I've got some specifics here. This is an area to drill down because it's the most common feature that people ask me about. Let's say we have a good payment system. So we pay every 2 weeks or once a month. And let's say we pay near the market. Obviously, your business isn't going to survive if you pay significantly below market. You're not going to attract the kind of professional quality staff that you want and the people with the skill sets that you need in order to produce the good results that we want. And so we're going to be assuming that the Catholic business owner is savvy enough to know that they have to pay pretty well at market or close to it. But what else do you do? If you're a believer in a Catholic economy and you want your employees to be loyal and faithful to you and do good work and support your product and, you know, deal with your customers appropriately and all of that, you will want to keep them. You'll want to retain those staff people. If you're hiring Catholic people and you want them to, for example, have a living wage, which is an older concept that you'd be familiar with. A living wage is simply a wage that allows a single breadwinner to earn the income necessary to support the family, which then supports the traditional family concept of a breadwinner and usually the father, the husband, and a mother, wife, at home raising the children, perhaps educating them, perhaps homeschooling them, but definitely building a home that is a protection and a sanctuary against the world. That's the traditional model. You may not be able to get there yet. It's difficult to pay a living wage because many people, even traditional Catholics, faithful Catholics, will assert that you can't make it on one income. Others assert that you can. But let's just say that you want to attract good staff and you want to keep them. And so you're going to try to pay something towards a living wage. You may not be able to get there, but what if your company is so successful that you could someday get there? Wouldn't that be a way to be a Catholic business? So here are some ideas on how you could use the pay system to create some advantage for your Catholic families that work for you. How about considering paying slightly above market, 3% above market, 5% above market? Do the math, run your spreadsheet analysis, simulate what it would take to pay that, and offer that as an incentive and make it known to your staff that you want them to stay with you and you want them to do good work, but that you respect the fact that it's tough to raise a family today in this type of economy. And so you're going to do your best to honor and respect their need to have household income. I've seen employers do this. We've tried to do it ourselves here and there over the years. Pay for other things for families, like an annual trip for the spouses or the entire family. some sort of airline ticket thing or admission to some wonderful venue that a whole family can wholesomely support and enjoy. What would be wrong with doing something like that? What if you built in inflation protection into the wages? What if you built in additional features? Take a look at some benefits. What if in our benefits program, all those usual things that we apply, we were more generous than the standard features are out there? What if we had a copay that is, instead of 50-50, let's say, I'm just making that number up, it could be, 60-40. The employer pays 60%, the employee pays 40%. What if we made a gesture like that? Again, do the math, run the simulation on your spreadsheet, which I've always talked about as a key tool that you need to run your business successfully as a Catholic business. What if you created a kind of a golden handcuffs thing? And I'm saying that in a positive sense, like a certain fund, a dollar figure, X hundreds, X thousands of dollars, that could be drawn down over X number of years. So then the employee is actually induced to stay longer. And when the inevitable emergencies come up, the braces, the eyeglasses, the surgeries, the hospitalizations, all these things that are all covered by insurance and all sorts of programs and plans and benefit plans, good. But what if you had an additional small fund that could grow to a reasonable amount, and it could be sitting there waiting for the employee to use it over a multi-year period? And if it's gone, it's gone. But you could make a gesture like that. My point is, mathematically, you could figure out what it would cost you to do that. And you may not be able to do that for everyone. You may have to do it in a modest way if you have a low margin or a lower margin business. But you see my point. We can do things beyond what the culture tells us to do and beyond what conventional wisdom tells us to do. Why? Not just to give people more money, although there's nothing wrong with that. That's a good in itself. But what we can do then is we can support family life, Catholic family life, where a spouse is at home with the children and creating the home atmosphere and tending to that part of life, where the other spouse is at work. Now, if you're a single parent family and you have other challenges like that, obviously, even this can help too. A single parent is under extreme pressure. And so paying for trips or a little bit of above market or inflation protection, or some sort of a benefits package that's 60-40 or 70-30 instead of 50-50. These things are all gestures, but they're sincere gestures and they're actual Catholic actions that you could take. What I like to propose is what we call family policy in our companies. If you're a Catholic business, what's your family policy, your family-oriented policy? Do you have in your benefits program the usual stuff? Probably you do. Eyeglasses, prescription, eye problems, teeth problems, long-term disability, LTD, group life insurance, physiotherapy, fitness, gym memberships, all these things. Sounds good. But what if you were a little bit extra more generous? Once again, do the math, figure it out. Does it work? Can you do short-term sick leave beyond what the other companies provide? But can you do short-term sick leave in a way that is not abused by you, the employer, or by the employee? For example, could you have some sort of an honor system or a contract where people promise to put in X number of days and hours of work per year on your product or service at their particular job, so that if they use sick leave beyond what was given, let's say it's, I don't know, I'm making this up, if you give 2 weeks or 3 weeks of sick leave per year with no questions asked, not asking for a doctor's certificate or something like that. But let's say somebody has a round of the flu comes to the family, or there's a surgery, or there's something that happens in a family, and they go beyond that. They use 4.5 weeks. Well, if you had a little system, the Catholic family policy system, where they promised you that they would put in the number of annual hours required, they might use up extra sick leave when the situation warrants, but later on, when everybody's healthy and everything's back to normal, they might come in on a Saturday and work the extra hours to make up for a few of those extra days. there's a way to do this without, even in a larger business. Your first response might be, no, that can't work in a large company. Yes, it can. I assert that it can work. I've seen it applied in certain businesses in very small ways. So I'm not saying it'll be easy, and I'm not saying that it's painless to do, but it's something that one might want to consider. So it's the family policy idea. And what it is it's a way to get into an agreement situation where people promise to do something in return for the generosity of your benefit package. So these are some ideas. I've covered customers, how to deal with your customer, how to deal with your own staff and your contractors and your shareholders and your own family, and how to deal with the sales and marketing situation. These are some ethical dilemmas that we face in business. In future videos, I'm going to cover some other topics where we have ethical dilemmas. There are many other ones, and we need to dig into those a little bit. One would be the area of legal. What's legal and what's moral and right? Another ethical dilemma that the Catholic family business or the Catholic business will encounter is the woke culture with all of its popular agenda out there. And you know what I'm talking about. There's a lot of causes. There's a lot of lifestyle choices that are inimical to the Catholic faith. They're against the Catholic faith. What are we going to do as owners of Catholic businesses or employees or executives of Catholic businesses when we're faced with the culture pushing a certain lifestyle at us and even asking us not just to tolerate it, but to actually attest to it and to honor it and to promote it? What are we going to do when we're faced with ethical dilemmas? Are you going to bake that cake? You know what I mean? Or are you going to resist? There's some very tough ethical dilemmas out there. What I've covered today is what you might call basics. It could be ethical dilemma 101 for the Catholic business. But in future videos, I'd like to talk about some of these more challenging situations and figure out ways with you as to how we live within the culture, but still operate Catholic businesses, how we are part of the culture in the world, but not of it. You know what I'm talking about. So thanks again for joining us today. Check out thecatholicCEO.com for our various offers and programs. Contact us if you need any help. We're always glad to be there. This is an apostolate and a ministry. It's also a business, and it's a family-run business. And so we need to stay in business, but we have tried to apply these principles that we're talking about here today. One example, just a quick example, we're tithing our income. So when we receive registration fees and people buy our services, we do tithe, and we also support your charitable situation, not just ours. And so we try to live that in our Catholic faith. So may God bless you in your business. We hope that you can continue to practice your full Catholic faith and run a Catholic business, because we believe that you can be Catholic and successful in business. So may God bless you in your enterprise. It's the Catholic CEO, Henry Katarna. Thanks for joining us today.